Oh, yeah. Well, from my experiences and what I've seen, and I've heard stories, I know we already know, you know, it's been established that hearing people have problems with deaf people because, first of all, they don't know how to communicate. They don't know any sound, which is fine, but they often, I guess, feel like stunned. Like, okay, well, I don't know where to start, and this is gonna be hard. So, and then we have to educate. If you just have paper and pen ready, I mean, or there's apps now. There's an app called Ava. It's AVA. Really simple. You just speak into it, and it actually translates what you're saying automatically. It's like a lifetime captioning app, really, is what it is. Maybe having that ready, or, don't just go, oh, as soon as there's a deaf person around. We don't bite. And we know people who work in like a police setting or a medical setting, even lawyers, businesses or whatnot. If you happen to have a deaf client who comes into the building or the place where you work, whatever, maybe just have paper ready, or, if you need to get an interpreter, you can ask the deaf person, hey, do you know of an agency? They've already had experience with this. That way you can work together as a team. Be like, I'm willing to work with you. Let's figure this out together. They might even have a card with a phone number on it. Make it easier. You know who to contact then. Make that bridge. Not just waiting for them to cross on their own, or, make the whole thing stronger. Just work together as a team. Make a bridge so that you can both cross. Make sure that everybody is understanding. If you've got paper, great, that'll work. But for the police, I know, there have been cases where, there's been difficulty with deaf people, maybe because even they don't understand sign, or, maybe gang signs. I know that's a thing. That's not always the case, but, or even, well, I know I had one case where the police were speaking and they were saying, get down, but we couldn't hear what they were saying. So just throw your hands up in the air, or, whatever. Right. But, it had a tragic ending, and it just really broke my heart. But I just want to, I don't know, like emphasize trying to look into the future, like how to solve some of these issues and make sure that it's safe and that there's communication between hearing and deaf in this kind of a situation where we have to, just put your hands up. Like, how do we do that? Is it going to look, but if we put our hands in the air, how do we communicate? I visualize like using my hands for signing, but if we get arrested and our hands are behind our back, how do we communicate that way? Especially if there's no interpreter. Like, we can't tell you we're deaf, we're completely lost. And I feel like that, just you immediately start thinking, what did I do wrong? And, and I understand for their safety, that's why that's done. I have a lot of family who are police officers, so, I'm familiar with that, but we need to start thinking of maybe giving instruction, or maybe cuffing in the front. That actually does work, because then we can sign even if it's really low, have an interpreter there, cuff in the front. There's just simple signs, like learn sit, please, wait, these kinds of things. But I'm just trying to think, really, for the serious situation where there's so many cops who are coming, that just rush in, what does the deaf person do? If a life is threatened at the same time, people get scared, and then if we can't communicate, or they think, oh, well, I'm running from the law, or I'm just trying to ignore them, or I don't want to follow instruction, maybe it's just that they're not being heard. So, I know the police don't want to hurt the person, but maybe they don't realize that the person is deaf, and, so there's so many can't do in that situation. So it would be nice if maybe we could maybe do a brainstorm session, put some ideas together, even have like a sign, or paper that we could hold out to prove, hey, we're deaf, you know, that way we don't have to just, you know, put our even if they just say, okay, put your hands up and then turn around, or, you know, something, and then we could just do that, you know, something to help ease that. Well, I want to add to that situation because in the past, we actually did have an officer shoot a deaf person because he was acting in a way, but when they actually had like a poll, that was a long time ago, but the police were like, oh, he's bad, he's bad. It's like, come on, you know, he was just, they didn't even really try to communicate with him, so they didn't try to even get somebody there. And at that time when I had an experience in my own home, we actually did call 911 and said, hey, you know, there's an emergency, but it's not serious, but I do need a police officer to come. So we had a cop who showed up who did sign, but I don't know about the other officers. You know, I don't know if they knew about it, but at least they could call and say, hey, we have a situation here with deaf people, and then maybe that person could come and start things and we can cooperate that way. But again, like I said, the first thing that I want to see is the police acknowledging. Yeah, I do see many people sharing stories on social media, especially Facebook. And, you know, you just see these things all over the place where deaf people are afraid of police officers. You know, if they get pulled over, they're like, oh, you know, they just grip the steering wheel. You know, we need to educate deaf people too. Hey, you know, keep your hands on the steering wheel so that you don't look like a threat when the police officer comes up. But the big problem is at night, they've got that flashlight that they shine right in your eyes, and we don't know who they are. We don't know, are they police? Are they somebody else? Who is it? So, you know, we can't hear. So then you're just standing there or sitting there holding your steering wheel, afraid to move. So, you know, I saw that story and it just about broke my heart. You know, just sitting there holding the steering wheel for a really long time. And then, you know, just kind of pointing. You know, there was a phone, an iPhone on the dashboard, and they just kind of pointed at the phone very slowly and then typed in it to say, I'm deaf, so that the officer could know what was going on, said, can you please put the flashlight down, you know. And then finally they were able to kind of communicate that way and write back and forth through the phone or whatever, I don't know. But just so many different stories about that with deaf people just afraid of police officers. And if a cop pulls somebody over and comes up, you know, make sure that the flashlight maybe isn't right in their eyes, but a little bit lower so that, you know, they can give the driver the ability to see that maybe you're friendly. I mean, maybe you're not, I don't know. But, you know, to help kind of diffuse the situation, I mean, maybe that would be something that could be trained, you know, like hand movements or something, you know, because you don't know if how you move your hands is going to be misinterpreted as dangerous, or, you know, if they're going to arrest you for that. So maybe there needs to be some training that says, oh, well, if you're talking and they don't respond, you know, simple. You, deaf. Maybe just teach those signs. You, deaf. And then the sign, yes. And then, okay, they know. And then you take a different approach and you try communicating a different way. Okay, you're deaf, put your hands up, turn around, you know, whatever. Just basic signs. Like, you don't have to even do full sentences, just basic signs that show, you know, yeah, like maybe add speeding in there. Yeah, something. Right, you're speeding. Why you stop me? Speed. Oh. No, blah, 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 blah. Oh, no, calm down. You know, how do you calm somebody down, though? Like, how do you drive the calm the driver down? How do you calm down a deaf person who's super anxious? You know, they have different ways of arresting people. So, you know, when you arrest a deaf person, you're not allowed to cuff their hands behind their back. In the law, you have to cuff their hands in the front. But why aren't the police following that? I don't understand that. So we really need some deeper understanding, and I'm happy we're having this meeting. It's one step. We need more steps. We need to keep moving forward to get past this. Well, remember ASL too, that's our hands, right? So For example, hearing people use their voice, and if they get really loud, I mean, sometimes they could be angry or sometimes they could be happy. Same idea. Sometimes we sign very small, which means we're being quiet, or sometimes we're looking like we're flailing around. Maybe we're just really excited. If a cop sees that and we're just excited, or maybe we're nervous and they think that we're a danger, like that story, Sandy, that you just said about the cop, cop at night. I mean, what would I do if I saw a cop? I would immediately get my phone out right away and type deaf. And then when the cop comes up, hold the steering wheel with one hand and have my phone out there at the window ready. So all they have to see is that we're deaf and they know, okay, that voice is not going to work. And then maybe use the voice translation app or something, Oh, yeah, I wanted to add one thing. What is it called? The pull over thing. There's like a flap that actually says I am deaf. So when the police officer walk over to the window, I put it like in the window, roll the window down a little bit or up or whatever, and then it's like a window tent. And then, if you can have the driver's license and insurance and whatever ready, it's easier not just for the deaf driver, but that's different than, if you're walking down the street, that's different than driving, so we have to learn how to approach deaf people on the street as well, if they're in a building. Right, but when hearing people are wearing masks, it used to be before I would just get out my phone, right? But now with masks, I mean, even the phone sometimes can't understand through the mask. And so with that, we're stuck. I was like, well, I don't have paper because I'm not used to doing it this way. So now how are we going to communicate, So I just say forget it and leave. So that's one situation. Right, but they could be ready with paper and a pad too when you come up so you can write. Instead of, hold on in a second, I have to find it. Hold on, it's in my purse. Wait. And then they're over here looking like this, waiting for you to, So, all right, but sometimes police, they already have a pad. They've got it in their pocket. They can just pull it out. Right, but they write so tiny. Yeah, they do write small. But many deaf people can't read, or they don't understand what they're reading. So time. Right, so it gets very, very complicated. Right. Okay, so anyway. So hearing people, they tend to write on and on and on, pages and pages and pages. But understand and remember that some people have not that much education. So maybe they haven't learned some of those words yet. So I don't know. Like everybody is different. Right. Because they know the sign, but they don't know the written word for it. So if you write it, oh, right. Yeah, me, drive. Okay. So if you're writing sentences and you're like, I don't understand what this means, that's still not communication, but it's a different language. I mean, they could learn, but I often hear the excuse, oh, I can't learn, I'm slow. I don't want to hear that excuse. I mean, it's true. If you want cooperation, we will cooperate with you if you cooperate with us. I mean, that's the best... I'm sorry. That's the best solution for that. And I hope that someday when I'm gone, maybe we're all gone, but hopefully the young people, the newer generations, will have smooth sailing. I think it really, deaf needs to become a positive household word. Like, we're not afraid to be labeled as deaf. But, I'm a deaf person, but I don't want people to look at me and see deaf as a disability and then just kind of like wave me through, They're like, oh, you're deaf, pfft, that's fine, you're just like me, come on, let's work together. But I do believe that in the future it would be really nice if we would be able to just write deaf and not be afraid of that. That's our identity. Right. But the hard of hearing people get really insulted when somebody says deaf. So that's, so there's a difference between hard of hearing people's feelings and the deaf people's feelings. But language proficiency and all of that has to do with it. Right, but I'm thinking like driver's license, it would be nice to just have deaf on there. Right. But a police officer sees the driver's license when they type that up. That's no excuse. Oh. Maybe big letters. Deaf.
Keep my name.
You know, when they see my name. And to add to that, it actually did happen to one of my family members. And when the police came, they came really fast. And he tried grabbing from the department to get the certification for the police department because it was there. The deaf people, you know, need to learn too, just like the cops do, because not all deaf people are innocent, right? So we do have some deaf who have issues, who don't care about cops, or they're scared of cops, or when you think immediately, oh, he has a gun if he's getting in the glove box. You know, I don't have a gun in there, but you know, but the flashlight is too bright, I can't see you, can you please put it down? So there are a lot of different stories, and it's about this. So, and I'm just so happy to hear that Dawn has taken up the gauntlet, and the police officer here that helped you, or whoever.
Commissioner Dwyer.
And I just want to thank him, and I also want to thank the crews that are here, the people that are here helping. And I think it's just wonderful that you guys can jump around here and maybe do some more stories. You guys are going to be really busy. Yes, and I hope that we that are here can also ask for the hearing people's patience. As you guys learn about us, we are also trying to encourage. And part of it is we're tired, but we don't want to just push everything aside. Like, we want to understand your lives as well. And we just wish that, you know, deaf and hearing could really work together. We want to see that so that we can improve our lives, so that we can see these struggles that we've been going through, that the hearing people don't have to worry about. You know, it seems like their problems are solved much easier than ours, while we're back here struggling and struggling and struggling for years and years and years.
Time for a change.
It's time for a change.